Okay, Jimmy, I'm doing this video here for you specifically, but wanted you to see where I'm starting from. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to replace these struts on the 2016 Fusion, and the first thing you do is take the tire off. So I've got the car jacked up there, and I'm going to take these lug nuts off. Now this is something anybody can do with the jack and the lug wrench that's in your trunk or you have in your workshop, but I've been doing a lot of this lately, so I bought a few tools that make it go faster. So you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. Let me get it jacked up. Okay, so I've jacked up the tire completely off the ground for me because I've got this tool to use that will quickly get these lugs off. But if you're doing it with the lug wrench out of your trunk, then you want to give it a quarter turn or a half turn to loosen them before your tire gets completely off the ground, or it'll spin while you're trying to do it. So just keep that in mind. All right. Okay, tire off. Now, the part, I'm going to take this little stand I've got off so you can see it, but not sure what just happened there, but the part we're going to replace is this piece right here. I hope you can see it, but it's that piece with the spring on it, and it comes down and attaches here behind the brake caliper and the brake, whatever you call it, disc. And basically, to do this, what we're going to do is this piece right here is held on with these two bolts right here, which are what holds it down on this end. It has a little plastic thing here that is just a cable that's just held on easily. There's a tie right here, which is for this silver tie rod that you're going to disconnect for now. And then over here on this side, you've got a similar thing. You've got this brake line that's going through a loop right here, and that's going to have to be this little bolt right here. You're going to have to pull out of there. And then so we're going to take away this bolt, this little plastic clip, and this piece up here. We're going to do those, and then when we have those done, everything's out of the way to go ahead and remove these two from the bottom. So that'll be our next step. Okay, I'm trying to give you a little bit better view of this, so let me tell you what's about to happen. I checked on the sizes, and I didn't mention this before, but my lug nuts are size 19 millimeters, and that's what I had on my air hammer or electric hammer. These big bolts here are big, and they might be a size you wouldn't normally have. It's a 24 millimeter. I happen to have them here because I've got a set of bigger impact wrenches, but those are 24s. This one up here is a 19, just like the lug nuts were. And then this little guy in the back is a number 10 that we have. And then the other two, I think we'll pull off with the wire. I think we just pull out with the needle nose pliers. So here we go. Without further ado, go ahead and get these things off there. Okay, top one's off. That was pretty quick. The number 10 is this one right here. Let's get it off right here. On there pretty good. Well, we'll have to see about that. Okay, so because I'm not as strong as I used to be and I don't want to strain myself, I've grabbed this breaker bar, which is just a long handle for your ratchet, and an extension, and hopefully by putting that on here, it gives you the leverage to just do that. You big strong guys probably do this no problem, but for me, This was a little harder to do. It seems like it's coming loose. All right, let's see if we can get it now with just a ratchet. Hopefully, that wasn't stripping something out. Oh, I see what we got going on here. That thing wanted to turn back there with it. The backside wanted to turn. I think I've got it now. So, strangely, the little tiny bolt is the hardest one to get off. Now, I've heard people say that some of these are hard to do, and so one of the things you can do in advance is spray some WD-40 or what they call PB Blaster on there, and that'll loosen things up. So this is now disconnected here. So from this side, we're completely disconnected. On this side, all I've got left is this little wire. There's actually a little clip right here that's got to come out. So I'll take my needle nose pliers and see if I can just pull it out of there. There we go. Okay, so that's now out. It looks like there's another little rubber clip up here somewhere. Let's see if that just pulls out. Yeah. So that was just kind of stuffed in the back side of this thing. So now my bolt is undone here. I've got to do these two big bolts, and when I do, I should be able to loosen the wheel hub up from that, and then I'll go up into the hood and start on the top. So that's where we are now. So I'm going to take these big guys and put them on my impact wrench and see if I can get them off that way. Yeah, came off no problem. All right. So now, taking those off, I'm going to grab a little rubber hammer just to pull these bolts out. They're probably in there pretty tight. Let me get that real quick. So this is just a little influencer here to help with these things. Okay, so if it's going to be like that, let's see if we can pull them out from here. That is a smaller size. How about that? Okay, let's see what size that is. There we go. So one side is a 24, the other side is a 22. I'm gonna see if I can back them out that way rather than have to beat them out. But if we have to beat them out, we have to beat them out. But we'll see what we can do. Any luck with that. Seems like there's weight on this thing. So I'm wondering if I need to put some. I'm gonna need to put a little weight underneath that to lift up on it. I'll be back to you in a second. All right, I'm sorry I got carried away and you missed what I just did, but I had to get these two bolts out of here, and there was a little bit of weight on them. You know, this thing moves around, so there's a little weight on them, but it was really, I just needed this thing, which is a little, I think it's 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 3 pound influencer, and hit them, and they came flying out. This guy up here was able to push out with my hand, and so now all of these are finished and ready to go. He didn't come all the way out, did he? All right. See if we can get that one, get the ones from the top. So I'm going to stop and go to the top, and then I'll open the hood and show you what we're doing there. All right, so I'm not quite ready. I'm trying to figure out how to get this phone up here where you can see it. But let me see if I've got it right. So if you look right down there, there are bolts. There's one there, there's one there, and there's one behind here somewhere I got to figure out how to get to. That these the bolt and bolt have to come out, and when they do, this whole thing will drop out. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna figure out how to get this thing off so I can get to it, and then I'll be right back to you. Okay, having trouble figuring out how to do my thing, but I've got this wonderful little magnetic light, but there's nothing on this car that's made out of steel, and so I'm having to just sit it there. But those are the 3 bolts I was showing you a minute ago. Looks like I got to get these clips off here. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera while I do it. Probably gonna lose them down in the motor somewhere, but I'm just pulling them off with that. I'm just gonna set them up here maybe, and see how many of these I have to remove. At least a couple, I'm guessing. There we go. All right, let me see if taking 2 of them off gets me where I need to be. So I want this to come up, and looks like it is held on pretty darn good. There we go. Okay, so I just got to pry it up. You see that? See that bolt down in there? That's all we got to get out. So I think I'm just going to hold it up while I put my socket wrench on it and loosen it that way, and I'll do that one first. So I'm going to turn this off while I get my sockets out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I found a little holder to hold this camera. Sorry it's not straight, but that way I don't have to hold it with my hands. So I'm going to take out these 3 bolts right here. It's a number 10 ratchet. Shouldn't be that challenging. I'm just going to break them loose if I can. All of them, and then I'm going to take that back one off first. In fact, I see I've got a deep well socket, and that was a dumb thing for me to do. Let me get a shorter socket. Number 10. So here's a shorter one I'm going to use instead of the deep well, because the deep well is going to stick up too far under here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one all the way out so that it's easier to deal with. Oops. I guess it got interrupted there. Keeps hitting the top of this plastic thing and reversing the direction of my ratchet. All right, so looks like that's about it. Get with my fingers. Okay, so bolt number 1 is out. Let's do the other 2 real quick. Now, when I pull the last one out, this thing's going to want to fall because I don't have any of the bolts in it at the bottom, which probably I should have done. But we'll see how big a deal that is. So there's 2 of them out. I'm reaching down here to feel of it, just to see if I can feel it moving at all. Doesn't seem to be yet. So hopefully it'll let me get these out, and then I can get down below and pull it out by hand. Okay, so that's all those out and out of the way. And I'm gonna pull this over where you can see what's going on underneath, if you can. So now this thing is fully detached from the brake area, and it's very loose. So I'm just pulling on it, and there we go. It is loose. I gotta keep it from tearing up my brake line here. I'm gonna pull it back where I can do it with 2 hands. So tear anything up. Okay, so there it comes. So this is the guy we're replacing right here. So I don't know how well you can see that because I don't have the camera on a direction I can do, but that's what we're trying to replace. Now, I got to tell you, I have no idea how you can tell when one of these things has gone bad. I'm replacing it only because the tire shop told me it was gone bad. Now, the ones in my rear, which are just They just have the interior piston. The springs are in a different place, so you're just replacing the shock absorber in the back. But when I did those, you could tell there was a big difference. And of course, my tires in the back were wearing very badly. So these tires are fairly new, so I don't really know if they're wearing badly because of this is a problem or not. But we're going to solve it, since I figured they're all about the same age. So if some of them are going bad, they're probably all going bad. And so here we go. Let me get the new ones. So let me just show you what they are. It's these two big boxes here. And unlike what you just saw me do, you should always unbox it first and make sure they sent you the right part. But I didn't do that. So that is the... I don't know which side is which, so I have to pull them out and see which is which. So let's just open them one at a time. And we'll know which one we got out. So here it comes. And the best thing you can do with an old part is compare it with a new part and just see if they're the same. So I'll lay it side by side. And it appears that this sucker's ambidextrous. It's got this little thing on both sides. So I think it doesn't matter, maybe. Or this only has it on one side. It's got both sets of holes on both sides. That's really weird. I don't know what to make of that. I'm hoping I can find some label on here that tells me that which side this is. But tells me that the coil springs need to settle, and when I put this in, it may appear like it's riding too high. Let's hope it's not that. But I'm gonna pull the other one out before I go any further and just make sure they're both the same. Well, interesting. So they're basically the same part for both sides here. So while this one, the original one, is clearly has a right and a left, because the flange comes off only on one side for both the brake line and for the attachment point for the strut. These have it on both sides. Now on this one, I noticed that right down there, this side is a little bit bent, and that would be the same as this one. So I think I'm going to use this particular one. I'm going to use this particular one on the opposite side so that I don't have to use that bent one. And then I'll use this one right here. Sorry for the fun camera work, but I'm going to use this one on this side. And it does seem to say, I don't know if you can see that, but there's an L and an R. So I guess depending on whether you're using it on the left or right side is which bolt hole that should line up with, which makes perfect sense, because as we put it in on this side, on the right side, it's going to fit this bolt over here into the strut. So I'm going to begin to set it in place. Now these seem to come with at least two new bolts for the top. I don't know why this one has two. The other one has three, so I'm gonna go look in the box and see if there's a third one, but good idea to go ahead and replace the bolts with the new stuff. So I'll do that next. Okay, so good news was that bolt was sitting right loose in the box. And I'm reading this warning that just lets me know there's a bolt right under here that is what holds the spring and the shock absorber part together. And it's letting me know you don't unscrew that, because that spring will come flying out at you. So it's sold as one unit. You put it in all together as one piece. You don't have to do anything with this. The one that came off had a little rubber plastic nut over the top of it, which I'll probably put on this one just to keep it clean and nice looking. But all right, so I'm gonna go off for a second and try to fit it in place, and then I'll show you what I've done. All right, time to throw you a bit of a curveball. So I was about to fit this into place, and I forget what this guy's called, but it's some sort of has to do with holding your sway bar with your whatever this thing's called. Anyway, I noticed that this thing's real wiggly right here. It's sitting in a rubber, it's meant to swivel and move, but the kit I bought came with new ones, and I wasn't going to use them. I was just going to use what's already on here. But I happened to pull them out and look at them, and man, the ball socket in there is really tight. I mean, it'll barely move at all. And it made me think, these guys are stiff like they're supposed to be, and these guys are very wiggly, telling me that they're pretty worn out. So since I've already got one bolt off, all I have to do is remove that one bolt down there that's holding it on, and I can replace that as well. So I'm gonna do that real fast. Okay, so if you ever heard the term famous last words, I think I told you I was gonna do it real quick, which took me a minute to get this broken loose. Probably been 5 minutes of finding the right combination of ratchet and handle to do this, but it's kind of hard to get a wrench under there. Now, if you were in a big auto shop that had a lift, you'd be standing on your feet doing this over your head. It'd be much simpler, but trying to lay down underneath this car, I didn't really jack it up very high, and it's not easy to get to, but I was able to use this little swivel head socket wrench to get it loose, and so here we are. So I'll get it replaced, and then we'll be back on track with the rest of this project. Okay, so if you decide to take this off, just know that there's it's sitting in there backwards, so it's kind of hard to get to, and these things will spin, so you ended up having to take a pair of pliers and hold one side while I unscrewed the other. So it took me a good, I don't know, 5 minutes of cranking, because it's a really, you can see it's a very long threaded bolt, but came off with just regular hand tools. So we're done with that. Throw that aside. Hopefully these will fit, although they look shorter, but maybe they're just thicker. Let's see. Yeah, they're the same size. They're just fatter for some reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those on now. Now these seem to come, as you can see, with a little bolt there on the inside by that rubber boot, and I think that will be something that I can put a wrench on, so when I go to tighten it, it won't turn beneath the weight of the torquing. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on next. Okay, sorry for the like a 10-minute departure there while I put that on, but this guy right here, long threaded bolt, and not a single bit of that was I able to do by my fingers. It was very difficult to turn it, so I had to use my socket wrench all the way up. But as you can see, this thing is very stiff and in there right, so that's the way it ought to be. So all right, so now I'm ready to settle that thing up. So up in there, you see there's the 1, 2, 3 bolts that I'm gonna fit this up in there, and then thread those little bolts down into the bottom of it, and hopefully it'll go on easy. Okay, so this sucker's pretty heavy, and to try to hold it up there with one hand and thread them and find them is pretty challenging. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to get this piece right here threaded into these two, and that'll help hold it stable so I can find the threads up at the top. So that's my next plan. So I guess I'll let you try to watch me do this. I don't know how it's gonna work, but these guys go in this way. So I wanna line this up, lift it up, and seat these in here, and try to get these bolts started. There we go. All right. Whew. Getting one started sure makes that a lot easier because it's heavy, and I'm a weakling. So there you go. So getting that one in, I'm gonna try to get the bottom one if I can find the bolt. Sitting on it, I think. There it is. Okay, so those two are on, and I don't know if you can see this, but those bolts have some like grooves in them that they'll only go in so far on their own, and you'll have to put the nut on, and it pulls it in there and holds it in place, so you don't have to have a thing on the back. So this piece is gonna be easy. Just put that screw back in, and then I'll seat this guy in there as well. So those are the next few steps. I'm gonna let it run while I go, see what happens. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know really what you can see and what you can't. So see, that goes on this guy, but I don't think I can put him in yet. Can I? No. Get you out of the way. Let's go ahead and put this little bracket on here, and this fits in. Where's that piece? This piece right here goes up there, and that's going to go on when Okay, so that'll go in there when this goes on, when that goes up there, but I'm not ready to do that yet. This one's gonna go in here. Let me find that little bolt. Where is it? So my mechanicking skills would never be profitable because I spend too much time looking for all the bolts and things that I've taken off. I can't find where they go back. So, well, I can get back with you when I find it. Well, I found it. It was right down there in my little tray where you're supposed to keep stuff. So anyway, there it is. Only took a minute. So this is going to go in here and thread down. And this is my brake line. It keeps it out of harm's way. So I'm just going to hand tighten it in there for now until I get everything else put in. But that'll keep that brake line a bit out of the way and not flopping around too much. Okay, and so now we're ready to put this guy in. And I think to do that I need to lift up on it. So I can't lift up on it without this thing being in, so I guess it's time to do these top ones. So I can see the ones at the top. Here's the 3 bolts that go with it. Sorry for my camera work. But they're gonna go in right up here, and I can see, I don't know if you can see that right there, but that one lines up a little bit if I hold it in just the right way. And I think if I can get one of them started, I can pull it up to where I need it to go. So I'm gonna try to hold you steady while I do that. It wants to go in, but I don't think it's quite seated in there, so I'm gonna have to find a way to lift it up a little bit. Okay, so I told you anybody could do this. So I took a little jack because I didn't have a son to help me hold this up. So I put this little bitty jack under there and pushed up on it, which allowed me to get that one nut right there started. And now I just got to twist it a little bit and get the other one lined up and get the other screws in there. So I'll do that next. Can't do it and hold this camera though. Maybe I'll put it over here, see if that will help. I don't know, but we'll see. Now I'm gonna have to let go of this thing a little bit. So I want to put a couple of torques on that. Wrench, what I do with my wrench. Leave. Goodness. There it is. So I'm going to see if I can do this one. This was not a 10. This was that bigger one. Is this a different size nut than the ones that came off? It looks like it is. So that was a 10. It's not a 10. 12 or 13. So we're going back with a 13. So the bolts are bigger coming back. Wish I could say that never happens, but it does happen. So just know that that's a possibility. So I'm just tightening this up enough to where I can let go of that jack and still have this thing lined up. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm gonna pull the little jack out from under here that's holding the wheel up. And now the bolt at the bottom and the bolt at the top are holding it in place. Well, I'm going to attempt to line these suckers up, but they are not easy. Let's turn this off for a minute. I'm struggling with a little issue down below that I'll show you. That control arm isn't lining up with the hole. So I'm not exactly sure why that is, but I'm gonna see if I can figure it out.